Breaking news. So, basically, today we're reporting on a royal order from King George III back in 1743 that put a stop to colonists moving west of the Appalachian Mountains. The area which this is occurring is, the area this has occurred is the Appalachian Mountains, which became a boundary line. The land west of that line, the Ohio River Valley and beyond, was rich in fertile soil and forests and game and stuff that the colonists wanted. The people that were involved was the British government, King George III, native colonists, Native American nations, Daniel Boone. They're all people who have something to do with this. Daniel Boone was a famous frontiersman who later led settlers through the mountains. The reason all this matters is because the colonists were angry they couldn't settle land between they were mad that they couldn't settle land they helped win in the French and Indian War. This anger added tension to the colony between colonists and Britain that would help lead to the American Revolution. Whoa, I found one of the angry settlers.
Lan, why don't we get to move here?
I don't know. But, you don't get moved here. Oh, they're chasing me! Are they still there? Oh crap. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803, the U.S. under President Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Territory from France. The U.S. then sent Lewis and Clark on an expedition to explore this new land. The territory stretched from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains and from the Gulf of Mexico up towards Canada. It included the important port of New Orleans and the Mississippi River, key for trade and shipping crops. The people that were involved was Thomas Jefferson, Napoleon Bonaparte, Meriwether Lewis, and William Clark, and their Corps of Discovery, Sacagawea, a Shoshine woman who helped guide and translate many Native American nations along the route. The reason this matters is it doubled the U.S. overnight, giving huge new areas to settle and farm. The expedition created maps and scientific observations that helped people understand the West. This increased the confidence in the U.S. and fueled belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the U.S. was meant to expand to the Pacific. The Missouri River, as Lewis and Clark's main route, and the Rocky Mountains were a major barrier to them. So this is the third thing that we're covering, okay, folks? In 1819, the Adam-Oneal Treaty was signed between the U.S. and Spain. Spain gave Florida to the United States and set a clear boundary between Spanish territory and the U.S. in the West. In 1842, the Webster-Ashburton Treaty between the U.S. and Great Britain settled border disputes in the northern U.S. and Canada, especially in Maine. The area where this has occurred is Florida, and it controlled access to the Gulf of Mexico and important shipping routes. The western boundary that drew lines across rivers and mountains out towards the Rocky Mountains. The Maine-Canada border settled control of the forests and trade routes, and the people who were involved was John Quincy Adams, who was the U.S. Secretary of State at the time, and Louis de Olney for Spain, for Adam-Oneal, Daniel Webster, and Lord Ashburton for Webster-Ashburton. The reason this matters is the U.S. gained full control of Florida, reducing conflict with Spain and native groups there. Clear borders help prevent wars with Spain and Britain. Woo-wee. This is being dumb. The U.S. gained full control of Florida, reducing conflict with Spain and native groups there. Clear borders help prevent wars with Spain and Britain. These treaties showed the U.S. using diplomacy, not just war, to expand and define territory. The rivers, mountains, and coastlines were used to draw some of the borders. Alright, segment 4. This is about the Oregon Territory and the Oregon Trail. Well, for years, the Oregon Territory was claimed by both the U.S. and Britain. In 1846, they agreed to divide it along the 49th parallel, giving the U.S. the land that would become Oregon, Washington, and parts of Idaho and Montana. Thousands of settlers traveled west in wagon trains along the Oregon Trail in 1840s. The trail started around Missouri and went across the Great Plains, over the Rocky Mountains, and into the Pacific Northwest. The Oregon country has fertile farmland, mild climate, and access to the Pacific Ocean for trade. The people who involved was Native American pioneer families, including farmers and missionaries. U.S. Native American nations, whose land trails cost U.S. and Britain leaders negotiating the border. The reason this matters is it helped the U.S. reach the Pacific coast, strengthening Manifest Destiny. It increased conflicts and pressure on Native peoples as settlers moved through and stayed. They turned the Pacific Northwest into an important region for farming, timber, and trade. A 2,000-mile journey, deadly diseases, and risky river crossings, all for a chance at rich farmland in Oregon. Very sad. Alright, segment 5. The Texas Revolution and the annexation of Texas. In the 1830s, American settlers in Tejanos, Tejanos in Mexican Texas rebelled against Mexico. Famous battles include the Alamo and San Jacinto. Texas won, became the Republic of Texas in 1836. In 1845, the U.S. annexed Texas, making it a state. Texas borders Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico. It has huge areas of land good for cotton farming, which used in slave labor. The people who involved was Mexican government and General Santa Anna, Texan rebels like Sam Houston, Tejanos, and American settlers. The U.S. leaders who pushed for annexation. The reason this matters is Texas added a large slave-holding state to the Union, increasing tension between North and South. Mexico was angry about the annexation, helping lead to the American-Mexican War, and it showed how economic opportunities pushed expansion and created conflict with foreign nations and over slavery.
Wait, what do I say?
I found this plantation house where there's a Texan settler that I want to interview. Alright, Texan settler, right there, you. What are you? Yeah, you. You're the only person around, you idiot. Well, alright. So basically, what are your thoughts about this here plantation and slavery?
Well, I really like slavery.
Of course you do. You're
I really
white.
like slavery. And, I hired some slaves for my farm. You know,
Where are they? They're gone.
they're in their shed making silk hats.
I'm not sure. Well, let's go look at them.
Okay. Yo, slave, get back to work.
I am working. Master, I'm working, master.
Okay.
You killed my family.
That's because they didn't pick enough. Keep working.
Well, that was a surprise. Well, gee. Oh my gosh. It's brutality. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Please don't whip me, master. Please don't whip me. Oh no. Ah. Oh gee. They've gone insane. Help. Help. Segment 6. Alright, so from 1846 to 1848, the U.S. fought Mexico in the Mexican-American War. Fighting took place in areas that are now Texas, California, and even all the way to Mexico City. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hilda Globe in 1848 ended the war. Mexico gave up a huge area of land to the U.S., the Mexican Cession. where the U.S. gained land that would become California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Ports Colorado and Wyoming. This gave the U.S. access to the Pacific Ocean and valuable resources like gold and silver and good farmland. The people who were involved was President James K. Polk in the U.S. Army, the Mexican government and its army, Mexican citizens and Native American groups living in the ceded lands, and the reason this matters is the U.S. achieved much of its Manifest Destiny goals, stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The new lands raised big questions about slavery. Would these territories allow slavery? Slavery would be free. Mexican families suddenly found themselves living in the U.S. without moving, losing land and rights. There were so many Mexican and Native Americans who just got pushed aside and harmed by these people. Segment 7. California Gold Rush and Alaska Purchase. So in 1848, gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in California. Thousands of 49ers rushed in from all over the U.S. and around the world. In 1867, don't you do it. If I see anyone doing it, the U.S. bought Alaska from Russia. Some Americans call it Seward's Folly, thinking it was a frozen wasteland. California on the Pacific Coast, with good harbors like San Francisco, became a major trade and shipping center. Alaska, far to the northwest, was rich in natural resources later found to have gold, fish, timber, and oil. Oil? Well, the people who were involved was prospectors, business owners, and miners, such as myself. Native peoples in California and Alaska, whose land wasn't invaded. William H. Seward, the U.S. Secretary of State who pushed the Alaska deal. The reason this matters is the gold rush caused rapid population growth in California, leading it to become a state by 1850. Boomtowns grew overnight. Many native communities were pushed off their land or killed. Alaska later proved to be very valuable, showing that people underestimated its resources. The Pacific turned California into a gateway to trade with Asia. Alright, segment 8. The Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears. In the 1830s, the U.S. government put several Native American nations, including the Cherokee, the Creek, the Chickasaw, and the Seminole, to leave their homelands in the southeast. They were marched hundreds of miles to Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. Thousands died from disease, starvation, and harsh weather. This journey is known as the Trail of Tears. God rest. Why? The U.S. wanted the old lands for white settlers, cotton plantations. The people who were involved was Andrew Jackson, the president, and officials who carried out removal. The Cherokee and other native nations. The white settlers who moved on to taken land. The reason this matters, the impact and perspective, is one of the worst consequences of the U.S.-ward expansion for Native Americans. Native people lost land, homes, and lives so we could expand farming and settlement. It reveals the dark side of Manifest Destiny. Growth for some meant great suffering for others. It would show Guys, I found this Cherokee leader guy. Guys, the Cherokee leader guy is right here. Pause. Guys, I found this Cherokee man.
Hello, I am a Cherokee man. Me and my two children, if all the Native Americans in the back could be quiet, then you might be able to hear what I'm saying. Warren, shh. Me and my two kids traveled tears, and it was really sad. There was a lot of tears. And my wife died of dysentery, and then When we got there, it was just this horrible, like, plot of land, nothing like our old home in Ohio. And Oklahoma. And so, like, I would just, if I had one word to describe the trail, I would say very tearful. Actually, there are so many tears, I'm going to choke on them now.